Right, I've got my Loctite. Just put a dab, just a little dab of Loctite on each, and it's the blue Loctite you want on these. Once you've got that on, just sit your breather assembly in place. Oh, wrong one. Oh, hey, where's that gone? Wrong one again. How have I done with that? Success. Snip that down. Once you've got your breather assembly on, you want to be looking at torquing the rocker assembly down. Get the torque wrench. Now I torque these down to 29. Newton meters, that is. And then once you've got that torqued, you want to be changing your torque wrench down to 13 Newton meters, and then torquing up the breather bolts. And that's your rocker assembly put on the front. So just knock you off for now. Right, I've got the rear rockers assembled back together. Put them in place. I've also rotated the motor so that the push rods are down. Nearly boo-booed. What you mustn't forget to do, let's get that bit of lube up this O-ring, just lift that back out a sec and put a new O-ring in. Don't forget to put your O-rings in, you end up with oil leaks. just need to find some sockets. There they are. Just make sure that your push rods are sat in your cups properly. And then you can just snug the bolts down. Right, and then obviously your breather assembly again. Umbrella valve, push it through, don't pull too hard on the tab, you snap it off, just make sure it's through. Then there's your new breather filter, let's get that put in place. And once that's in, gasket, top cover, and just drop your bolts through. Turn it to the way up, get your other gasket. And then just again a drop of blue Loctite on the threads, just a drop. And then drop it all in place. Snug them down, and then back to the torque wrench. Set it again for 29 Newton meters. And then torque your rocker assembly down. and turn it back down again to 13 Newton meters. And torque your breather bolts down. Right, I'll just spin this round. And we'll rotate this motor. Go. Everything's free enough there, nice and smooth. Right, I'll knock you off again for now. Right, I'm going to put the rocker covers on. So get a new gasket, put it in place, grab your rocker cover. Just grab your bolts and sort of just have a look in, make sure your gasket's sort of lined up with the holes as well as the rocker cover itself. On your bolts you want to be putting just a dab of blue Loctite on. On your rocker cover you've got your 3 long bolts which go in the front, they go in the carb side, the right hand side, whatever you want to call it, and then you've got your 3 short bolts that go in the primary side. I've already put dabs of Loctite on each one of these. I wonder what we've got on there, but the wrong size Allen. I don't know if I've mentioned at any point during this build that all the threaded holes that obviously the screws are screwing into, I've run a tap down them just to clean the threads out. It's good to sort of do that if you're stripping something and rebuilding it. Clean the threads out and make sure there's nought in your threads, especially if they're a closed blind hole. When you're happy with your alignment, then we'll just nip them down. And then we'll get the torque wrench. So you might think this is a bit awkward having 4 Allen heads and 2 normal bolts, but the reason I'm doing it this way is because I've been a tart and I've bought 2 chrome covers that sit on these 2 bolts. These are pretty much the 2 on here and the 2 on the front cylinder. When it's all back together in the bike, it's pretty much the only 2 you can see. So that's the standard. Pointing at this, I don't even know you can see it. These 2 here are just the standard rocker cover bolts. Obviously these are polished stainless. Yeah, as I was saying about your threaded holes, if you screw a bolt into a hole and it's got crap in it, it compresses the crap at the end of the hole. When you start putting the pressure on, it can actually burst your case if it's OTT. Right, 24 Newton meters torque these up to. But what I'll do is I'll just nip them slightly. And then I'll go around and torque them all up properly. Right, and that's that rocker cover torqued down. When I was on about making little chrome covers, just these things here, they sit over, they can actually clip in place, so just looks a bit more tarty. Right, I'll just knock you off for a minute and get the other gasket and put to the cylinder, and I'll come back. Right, put the front rocker cover on. It's the same as the other basically. New gasket. Cover itself. Line the holes up. Again, I've already put blue Loctite on these. When you're putting your new bolts in, putting your bolts in should I say, don't tighten them down straight away. I mean, take them as far down as you want, sort of thing, but don't tighten them because you want to line everything up. When you're happy with your alignment, just nip it down to sort of hold it in place. One thing you'll find if you haven't done this before is as you tighten these down, it actually pushes the rocker cover forward slightly, like to the side should I say. Obviously because it's on a slope, and unless I put a clamp on it, I mean it's lined up at the back and there's a little tiny lip at the front, but as I say, unless you put a clamp on it, if you want to try and keep the front line, but I just let it go where it needs to, but line it up as best I can to start with. And then just nip them all down snugly. Invent new words as I'm going. And then we'll torque them up. Same as last time, 24 Newton meters. You don't want to be tightening it up to 24 foot-pound because you probably strip your threads out. Same as before, I'll just tighten them down a little bit more with the wrench. Right, once you've got them snug down tight, just torque them up. Go that much further on that anyways. And that's your rocker covers on and torqued up. It's actually starting to resemble an engine again now. Right, next thing we'll be doing is we'll get the push rods put up into place so they're all nice and tight, sealed, hopefully. You're going to make sure with your push rods that you've got them nice and tight, pressed in properly should I say, at the bottom so that your seals can seal, and then push them up. And I think I'll just knock it off a second and get me bits that go in here, and I'll come back.